Broadcast live.
Hello, Berita. Hi. Ngiyaphi Sisi. It's like today, this year, 2023, it's 2013 since Conquering Spirit.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
I mean, I was just thinking about it, was that there's just something about the genre where like artists that create music like yours and didn't release all the time because like the music just stays and lives, you know? Is that the thing? Because the momentum that you guys consistently have, it's as if like, it's like, I mean, and I'm close to urban music because guys are always releasing, you know? How do you pace out your release like plans, you know, as you go?
You know, yeah, it's definitely been a journey. And I think as an artist, what I've realized is that you go through different seasons as an artist. When 10 years since the release, I'm actually currently working on new music and I'm inspired by, you know, the urban space where people release music all the time, because sometimes there are songs where I felt a certain way, but I feel like as time goes on, as the artist, you feel like, but I'm no longer feeling that way. But I think also you get to have the appreciation of the moment the music is released, it's no longer mine. It's now for the people. So to this day, like songs from the Conquering Spirit album, Thando Lwethu, I still get people that come up to me and say, my child is named Thando Lwethu after your song. Wow. My niece is Thando Lwethu after, and I'm like, oh. And I've heard this a number of times. Yeah. And that's beautiful to know that the music continues to have its own life.
But where were you in 2013? I mean, if it's released 2013, you must have been working at it around 2012. Where were you?
So I was in the Eastern Cape. 2013, I was a third-year student at Walter Sisulu University. Actually, the album first came out in 2012 as a physical release. And then 2013 was like the digital release.
Okay, so were you studying music there, or guitar voga? Other kids had dummies, you had a guitar, you know?
No. So for me, my music journey started right after high school. Originally from Zimbabwe. And then when I was 16, I moved to New Zealand with my parents. They're dairy farmers that side. And then I think just the move to a different country, this is like 15 years ago. It's cool now that being African is cool all around the world, but it was not cool then. And I think living overseas, especially where we were living, I felt like I wanted to showcase who I am. And then when I came to study, I came to South Africa to study 2012, but secretly to pursue music. So when I moved to South Africa, I knew, you know, coming from growing up in Zim, listening to Mafikizolo, Malaika, Lucky Dube, I was always connected to South African music. So I knew you know, something in me, even before I was singing, there was something in me that is pure. It's Patisiwe. And moving to the Eastern Cape was the best. I mean, for me at the time, I went to Walter Sisulu University. When I arrived, Zahara, who was then known as Spinach, actually had just been taken. A deal. And for me, Diafika, and everyone's like, let's support you, because if we support you, now you're gonna make us proud like her. And within a year, my journey took off quite quickly. SlikourOnLife recorded my first album. First song comes out and boom.
That's crazy. So your parents still in New Zealand?
Yeah.
Okay, so when Nazara, I'm like, no, Nazara. I'm like, so now Berita, basically, you cheese girl, literally. I mean, we are material, literally cheese girl.
Cheese, fam, when I young kid. I mean, you know, growing up in Zim, because that's what I was raised by my grandmother. My parents were teachers in the Bundes. So I have a bit of of everything. But one thing I've been fortunate, I've traveled quite a bit. Yeah, so one which is, but no,
and I dust cheese in yabo. While I dust kuphela. Bafuna cheese. That's the difference. You know what I mean?
Wow.
That's incredible. I never knew that. So now your music career starts, obviously, and when you were releasing in 2013, were you independent, and how did your decision of like labels, all those things happen?
Yeah. Wow. When I first started making music, it was still the era of physical sales. So I remember at the time, even when I first put out my music, it wasn't. When my album came out, I was a student. No one knew. Like, there was no promo. There was no release plan. None of that.
Yeah.
What actually happened at the time is that I believe the one thing that was done, my then record label took my music to SABC, and Thando Loethu got picked up by Eddie Zondi. Eddie Zondi used to have a Sunday playlist.
Yeah.
So he loved the song. He started playing. I didn't know him.
Yeah.
And he just started playing the song every Sunday. And the more he played the song, I think the song started playing around February, March. Still, no one knows who I am. By like August, I got a random call from a music shop, Musica, back then. And they were like, people are coming in here. They're asking for your album. How do we get this album in stores? Because people are asking for your song. And that's how my music got into stores. And around about the same time in the Eastern Cape, I was doing, I think, like an activation for a brand that was doing taxi rank activations.
Yeah.
And they'd booked me, they'd also booked Oskido.
Yeah.
So Oskido came to the Eastern Cape to do this taxi rank activation gig. And he watched me performing on stage, and he heard Thando Loethu, and he was like, the album, but that song deserves to be in the album.
Yeah.
So we had to send him the separates quickly. He put the song on his album, and Oskido, like him putting out, I think it was his 2013, I believe, album, put it out. It was a great time at the time. That same album had Kendi Tsamandebele.
Okay, yes.
The album was big. I started touring with Oskido. He literally gave me my first big break.
Come on, Oskido's the man,
Yeah.
This man has just changed so many people's lives. That's incredible. Okay, and then from then on, you're out there. So are you finished school now, or you are now, what was it like? I was like, you've called them like a New Zealand, with the New Zealand code and the Zimbabwean code, both of them, you just said, guys, I don't know about the school thing.
I always believed in you finish what you start.
Yeah.
And at the time, I remember for like 2 years straight, I would do gigs and write my exams. But I also had my ways. Around about the same time, strike esikoleni.
Yeah.
So I'm striking when I said Joburg, pushing the album.
Yeah.
I got back to school. I actually graduated cum laude as well.
Oh, wow.
That's to having good friends that when I was doing gigs and traveling, they would take notes and they would share those notes.
Wow. And you would even do better than them after that.
It's terrible.
Your friends are like...
I think about it now, like,
That's incredible, man. That's incredible. And like, I think that like now, obviously, you are working on new music. Where are we going? You do say that you're influenced by the urban sound, but what can people expect to hear? You know what I mean?
Definitely. It's been a while. My last album came out just before COVID. And that album, I've got 4 albums under my belt, and you'd asked earlier about the question of independence. And so each album has kind of had its journey. At the first 2 albums, which at the time were with an indie record label that had a label deal, which over the years I've since purchased back, masters of those.
Okay.
And then I had the one album when I first moved to Joburg. I worked with Fifth Season on that album. And then after that, I believed Woods I had learned the ropes, and it was time for me to go independent. And then that was also a great journey. I went independent, I think 2019, toured East Africa, Southern Africa. And then I came back and put out my first independent release, Daily Kiss, which did, really, really well. And got sync deals. It,
all right.
You know, it was top of the charts and things like that. So it gave me that, I think, confidence as like an independent artist that, wait, I can actually do this, especially coming from the old school. I think a lot of these new artists, I always say when I'm in the studio with them, that they're so lucky. Things are so much easier than they were when we first started. So every time for me, it's felt like, you know, it's a new industry. It's a new era. So I think for me, what I pride myself in with every album is just always growing, always getting better at the music. And, you know, with the last album, it was the first album that I really like co-produced the entire process of the album. And also I think after you've written like a number of bodies of work, you really now need to really dig deep because you know, you've written a couple of times. I think when you're still starting out,
it just comes, it just comes. And you choose from the best because there's so much also, right? Yeah. Someone once said, Uti, your first album is your entire life. So if you're 21, 22, it takes you 22 years. But your next body of work, whether it's EP, it's now those 6 months. That window in between. Window in between. But I think for me, I think I'm possibly like feeling the most creative I've ever felt. All right. As much as I haven't put out music in the past 2-3 years, I think I've gone through quite a bit, and it's given me a lot to think about, a lot to feel. So I'm in the studio. I'm having so much fun. Some days it's just me and my guitar. Sometimes I've been to the Amapiano DJ studios to see, and I've been challenged there. I've written a couple of songs this year where I'm like, wow, this is a different way of writing music and approaching music, and I'm ready to you know just putting a few final touches, and we'll be releasing some new stuff soon. All right. Well, we look forward to it. Thanks for joining us on the Unplug. We are looking forward to the album because, as you said, you've got a lot to write about now. You might have a diss track. We don't know. Wow. Anything goes. Anything goes. Thanks for joining us, Berita. Thank you. Thank you.
Broadcast live